Welcome to the Success Ascent. My name is Pat Mancuso, the creator and host of our show. Today we welcome a very special guest and a dear friend of mine. His name is Bob Kilinski. Now, Bob is an entrepreneur. He's a thought leader. He's also the co-owner of Keller Williams regions in the southern part of the U.S., including Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and North Florida. Bob is also an incredible leader with a great heart. This episode is probably one of the most impactful episodes I've ever done on the Success Ascent. So I know you're going to enjoy the episode today. So on to the ascent. Welcome to the Success Ascent. My name is Pat Mancuso, the creator and host of our show. And today we have probably one of the most special guests that we've had on our series. And I have to tell you, this individual has not only impacted thousands of real estate agents and entrepreneurs across the country, he's personally impacted my life. So I am excited to welcome Bob Kilinski to our show today. Now, we're going to talk to Bob in just a second, but let me tell you about Bob. If you don't know about Bob, let me tell you about Bob. So Bob has 40 years experience in operating, managing, and teaching in the real estate brokerage industry. As a vice president of a prestigious real estate company in New Orleans, Gertrude Gardner Realtors, he headed up both the residential and the commercial divisions, helping to expand the company to 22 offices throughout the city and surrounding areas. Bob opened his own Keller Williams Market Center in New Orleans in June 1998, grew to 75 agents in 1 year. Because of that enthusiasm and his passion for helping people, he adopted the Keller Williams concept and actually took it to the southeast region of Georgia. And also in Tennessee, Alabama, and North Florida. All of those areas have exploded with his leadership and the leadership of the people that he's in business with. Bob also loves to share and give back, and that's why I'm excited to have us with us today. His passion is teaching and consulting agents and entrepreneurs and business owners and real estate franchise owners, helping them enhance their careers and businesses to the highest level. So, Mr. Bob Kilinski, welcome to our show today.
Hey, Pat, thanks so much. I'm honored to be here.
Oh man, I'm just excited to put you on the hot seat and pull out all this amazing information from you. So I prepared you for this. We always do this little deal on the beginning of our show. We say, okay, that was Bob on paper. Tell us something about Bob that wasn't on paper or something that people might not know about you.
Well, I played tennis early in my life when I was in the Army, and then I got away from it for various reasons, business reasons, also some physical challenges. So now I'm approaching 80 years old, and I've gotten back into tennis, and my goal is to be the Atlanta City Doubles Championship over the age of 80.
No way.
Yes, way. That's my goal. Now,
when does that happen? Like we are.
It happens when I beat all the other guys and
yeah, of course,
given a trophy. So It's no schedule here. The season has a fall season and a summer season. I mean, and a spring season. So I just have to keep playing and keep winning at division levels, and then super division levels, then city level. But I have to also have a very good partner that has the same goal. So I'm still in the process of choosing that partner and making my wishes known and then just going at it. But I'm playing very actively these days.
I love it. I love it. Well, so I was going to say we could do a podcast on how to look 60 at 80 with basically I cannot believe you're approaching 80. So, oh my gosh, good for you. Good for you.
I had a mom who died at 97 and a dad died at 96. So my genes are pretty good. I don't take credit. I just enjoy.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So Bob, here's what I want to do. I want to talk about, so you, prior to coming in real estate, as I recall in our relationship, you came from a corporate environment, highly successful in that corporate environment. And then you kind of became an entrepreneur. What triggered that? Like what triggered that transition to move from corporate to entrepreneur?
Well, I sort of backed into it, Pat, to be honest with you. I'd like to say, boy, I had this light bulb go off and this happened, but it didn't happen that way. I was working for IBM out of college, and I was diverted to the Army for 2 years because I was ROTC. When I came back to IBM, it was a different company, wasn't the same people, wasn't the same culture. So I got lured away to a small consulting company that was like Ross Perot's company in Dallas, EDS. a guy in New Orleans formed IDS, and I wanted to go in that direction. So it was a smaller environment, still a little bit corporate, but certainly more villagey as opposed to corporately.
Okay.
That company failed. Then I was forced to go on my own.
Yeah.
I had clients from consulting, so I wrapped those in a bundle, and two other guys and I just partnered up and said, okay, now we have a company. Well, we failed because we didn't have enough income to stay alive.
I'm not laughing at you. It's just part of
it. And look,
journey,
tell you what, here's where you learn the best is when you hit brick walls.
Yeah.
I call that's how you learn wisdom. In school, you get knowledge. On the street, you get smart. But wisdom is what happens to you.
I love it.
That's what makes you. The book Failing Forward, I think, is one of the best books on the market today.
Yeah.
So anyway, at age 30, I'm basically out of income, wife not working, and a first child, 6 months old. And I had to figure out what to do. So I went and looked, where do people really make money in the world? And it was in real estate. So I got myself a job with a guy, and we formed a small real estate company in 1972. 1978, we built it to 400 agents. We sold it to Coldwell Banker. Wow. I actually went into the restaurant business, not knowing a thing about it, which I tell anybody in this podcast, don't do what you don't know anything about. It doesn't work out well for you. So all the property my partners and I had accumulated, we had to sacrifice to the bank to get out of debt, plus some. Went back into the real estate brokerage business with Gertrude Gardner, the company you mentioned, and I really still thank them today for the opportunity. And in 18 years, rose to the level that you spoke about. Then Keller Williams came along and I said, well, let me stop. I got fired from that company. My wife died and all my kids left at the same time going to college or wherever they were going. So I'm a guy at 56 years old, not too much equity, a reputation only in my own zip code. And I had to figure out some things to do. Fortunately, Keller Williams crossed my path, and I promised myself at that point, I was not going to directly work for anybody anymore. I was going to be entrepreneurial, take risk, and build equity.
Yeah.
And so when Gary offered me the chance for the Southeast region, which is Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and later on my partners bought into North Florida, I took it. Now, I was sort of, again, backed into it. It wasn't like, let me do this because it's wonderful. I did it because I needed something to do, and I made one rule for myself. At this age, it was all about accumulating equity and not working for other people, trying to do something on your own.
Yeah.
All the other things had not worked out well for me. I'd started other businesses, some successful, like a building business, but the restaurant didn't work. Our consulting company didn't work. Learned a lot from the projects failing.
Right.
And one thing that I had to get in my head was I didn't fail, it failed.
Right. Right.
To redirect my energies to say, okay, where will my energies succeed in what project? And it turned out to be Keller Williams with the platform, with the opportunity, and with my, let's say, rewired goals. It worked out pretty well. And I will say this, that it only happened really because I had an incredible partner in Kay Evans.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
It was the yin to my yang, and we together, 1 and 1 equals 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And what an amazing individual she is, and impacted my life at a high level as well. So I did not know that transition for you happened in the mid-50s. And what's interesting is that when you go back and you look at some highly successful people like Ray Kroc, there's a number of people who failed their way to an age later on in life and then hit success at an amazing level. So it's just I just wanted to say that I did not know that's when that journey in KW started. So let me ask you this: as an entrepreneur going through all those experiences, the opportunity to learn from each of those roadblocks, if you may, what was the biggest thing that surprised you in that entrepreneurial journey? Like, what was the biggest blind spot maybe, or something that you just went, whoa, I wasn't expecting that?
It's a great question, Pat. It's probably a lot of things. Let me see if I can sort of nail down to the core of what you're asking. I said, probably what I didn't expect is the biggest white canvas and not knowing really which paint to apply to that canvas. But the opportunity was so big, but it was also so blank. It was like Johnny Appleseed, here you are, you got it. Now what do you do? Okay. So it was overwhelming at first, but it was also at the same time embryonic and exciting. So you mix all that into a smoothie and you've got a really interesting drink.
So as a entrepreneur again in this journey now, so what was the biggest ceiling you hit at going, from, let's go back to mid 50s, you rewire, and now you're doing it on your own. What was the biggest ceiling as in that journey that you've hit, and how did you break through it?
I believe it was having built up an ego and being able to be seen as important by other people in the corporate world or the structure you're in. Now you've risen to some prominence as a title and commander.
Right.
And then when that gets stripped away, you start to look and say, well, whoa, it was about it. It wasn't about me. Now I have to go develop me.
Right.
Because and they say in high tide, all boats rise.
Right.
Okay. And if you're lucky, you stay the bigger boat in the bigger sea. But when that sort of drains out, it goes away by some other action that you didn't create. And sometimes maybe you do, but I didn't. You really have to figure out how to regroup from that. And that's not always easy. Believe you me, it was one foot in front of the other. And there was a lot of scary times and a lot of, I should go back and do what I used to do, and maybe I can create something out of it locally. And I was going back to what I call my comfort zone psychologically, but my mind said, you already been there. That didn't work for you. You've got to figure out something different.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to shift things in your mind about yourself, how you see yourself and how you see yourself working in a new environment is a big aha for me.
So let's shift gears a little bit, right? So now, you've had this amazing journey. You've gotten into business with some amazing people, and you really, as a leader, as I've watched you, and obviously we've interacted a number of times over the years and had some amazing conversations. What would you, if you were like 20 years, if you were talking to somebody 20 years old right now, what advice would you give them as an entrepreneur? Like, what would be a few things you'd go, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you got to do this to be successful?
I will say the first thing I say is you better really know who the hell you are.
Okay.
You better get to know you. You better look in the mirror and be real honest. If your ego starts to take over or the project becomes the most prominent thing and you don't really know, and that's what I didn't do. I didn't spend time getting to know me.
Yeah.
I got married. I had kids. I got a job. I had to make money. I had to be, looking good in a suit because I used to work for IBM. So that's important. At least I thought it was important. And I have to be involved in these associations. So I was defining myself by what I did, not by who I was. And I found that out at age 56 that I had gone down that trail as opposed to figuring out who Bob really was. Bob was just doing what Bob thought he should do based on others and opportunities in front of you. But it took a setback for me to sit back and look at the mirror hard.
Yeah.
And once that is, you're flat-footed on that, you're going to succeed at something.
Right.
Along with your gift zone and the opportunities that either you create or created for you, you take advantage of.
So in those setbacks are what make us, right? I mean, we almost have to go through those. We almost have to go to the bottom to go up.
Pat, setbacks are wisdom creators.
Yeah.
You don't learn much when you succeed.
Yeah.
You may learn some. Yes, you do. Okay. Because you learn good practices and good habits. But your real learning is when things hit you from the left. It's like going through a stoplight and you got the green light and the guy from the red light just crashes through your side door.
Yeah.
It resets the clock. All right. So things that happen to you are valuable, more valuable in the long run when they have let's call it a temporary negative effect.
Right.
Makes you sit back, evaluate, and if you have the soul and inner strength, which I bless God for, God blessed me by having that.
Right.
It was what kept me alive and going. Because at age 56, I had no equity. I lost my wife. My kids were gone. I was fired. And here I am. Yeah, I had an MBA from Tulane, 35 years ago? Who asked you about your GPA when you're 26? Nobody. What school did you go to? They just want to find out if they knew anybody you know. That's all they ask you. Okay. The resume as we know it is dead.
Yeah.
The track record and passion, I think, are two things that people look for these days. And I had passion, I had some track record, but
Yeah.
I didn't know how to put it together.
Yeah.
But I had some principles that I wouldn't let go of. And that one was I was not going to work for someone else ever again in my life.
Interesting.
And I did not have that viewpoint at age 20 or 25. I wasn't the Bill Gates in a garage or Michael Dell in his dorm room, or whoever those guys are that you hear and read on the radio and TV.
Right.
I was an average dude, came from a Polish dad and Tennessee mom and lived in an apartment all my life. So I knew how to make lemonade out of lemons, but I never had a whole basket full of apples. Okay. So,
well, what's interesting is you talk about those principles, and you see so many people. I mean, you see with going through COVID and all the people kind of reassessing, their lives and their businesses, and you see so many people leaving that corporate environment and going out on their own. And so, I love the way you said that. It's like, I'm just not going to work for anybody else. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it myself. And I just love that. I love that.
Well, I had to get to a place where I had when I say clothes on, I'm talking about in the mental sense. I had to make myself naked. Yeah. Look in the mirror and say, okay, what is really important to you? What do you think you have gifts that God had gave you to put to practice? And how do you put those two things together? Yeah. And that's called preparation. Luck, as you well know, is when preparation meets opportunity. That's luck. Okay. Right. I'm going to recommend a book to everybody listening is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. Oh yeah. It's a fabulous story. In fact, I tell you to listen to it because he tells the story about himself. Yeah. And he's a character anyway. Yeah. But listen to how he reacted to red light, green light in your lives. Yeah. And to know when to sort of let loose and just let things flow, and when to grab on and make things happen. I was always of the type that if I didn't do it, it wouldn't happen. Then I realized later on that there's so many things that happen not because of me, but around me. Right. And you have to learn how to live with those and try and take lightning and make it electricity. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. Lightning is everywhere, but how do you make it electricity to make it do something good? Well, what's interesting, Bob, is almost to the T, every entrepreneur, business owner, leader, author we've interviewed before you has gotten to the point where they talk about, first of all, understanding themselves, which is what we do, in our business with CEOs. As a consultant, one of the biggest reasons companies don't break through that next level is the CEO doesn't understand who they are. And then the second thing you just kind of touched on is the people around you, and how important it is to have that, that right leverage and those right people around you. So let me transition a little bit. And so let's talk about, you're now leading this amazing organization. I think by most estimates, one of the top, if not the top performing region inside of Keller Williams. You've got a lot of entrepreneurs within that environment. What are you coaching and teaching them to raise their level of success? I'm a systems communicator and a logical type of guy. That's my DNA. Yes, you are. You know that about me. I do. So what I try and do is sort of offer templates, suggestions, and options and observations to people who I believe are talented that will take that and in their own way, and in the system we're all in, Keller Williams, use it to their benefit on their own, because they have talent on their own. They're not going to do it just the way I did it, right. But I want to be the spark to their fire. I see my role. I want to be the acorn to their oak tree or the spark to their fire. And how do you do that? Well, you get a relationship with them, number one. You really are honest and transparent with them, number two. It's not you work for me, it's we work together attitude. And how can I best be a servant leader and a resource for you so you can take whatever platform and plus it? I think that's what leaders are supposed to do. And we have the responsibility as leaders to develop other leaders, not just to take our places, but to expand the empire that you're watching over. And if you got a real good leader, don't get in their way. Don't get in their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see so many people trying to manage, and management is different than leadership. And here's my definition. Managers try and light a fire under you. Leaders try and light a fire in you.
Wow. Say that again.
Managers will light a fire under you. Leaders will find a way to light a fire inside of you.
That is so true. So true. So I want to ask you, there was a time that, you obviously, roots, if you may, in Louisiana, and Katrina hits. And, people know that there's going to need to be resources and help put out there. But you took an amazing step in a very short period of time and created massive momentum to help people through Katrina. Just talk about, what was your thinking process at the time? What triggered that, okay, I need to go do this?
Well, I'm from New Orleans. I live in Atlanta now, and that's where my business is up to. When it hit my city, and I will get emotional because friends of mine were severely damaged. Some died, some just altered their life forever. But the city was crushed. The whole Gulf Coast was crushed.
Yeah.
So we had the fund KW Cares, and I called Mo, the president of our company at that time, and said, Mo, I would love to lead the charge for our company to help New Orleans. And she said, come on, fly to Austin. I'll buy you a ticket. I said, no, I'll fly to Austin, how long it takes. What I realized was I couldn't do it, but I could assemble what we call the heart-to-heart program across our country to get people who weren't hurt by this to reach out and help others that were. And there were 728 families we could identify. And we found a way of having each one of those families adopted by somebody else in the country. Whole market centers adopted families.
Yeah.
I'll take credit for this, putting the architectural design in place.
Yep.
But I will not take the credit for the effort and the love and the resources that were donated so generously by everybody in our company. Everybody.
Yeah.
Agents, MCAs, team leaders, regional directors. I mean, everybody rallied to the cause.
Everybody jumped in there.
It was amazing rallying of the heart into one.
So, I have this thing for making people cry, but I didn't actually think I would do it to you.
You got me.
Oh my gosh. I have a talent. It's an undiscovered talent, Bob. You just pulled it out. I now know. The reason that I brought that up is that was impactful in our journey, and it was impactful to people's lives, and it really created the roadmap to, now is what, KW Cares and how we impact people's lives. And, as a leader, it might have happened, and it might have happened in the same way, but the fact is it didn't. And you just haven't stopped at that. I mean, as a leader, you're always looking to impact people's lives. And that's what I just so love about, your track record and what you've accomplished.
Well, God has blessed me.
Yep.
And I see it as being a steward of things that he wanted me to help redirect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I live a great lifestyle. One I've never thought I would live. Just incredible.
Yep.
20 times what my mom and dad even dreamed about. So that's why I say I pinch myself a lot. But I also think that blessing comes with a responsibility.
Absolutely.
To not just give to other people, but give resources in such a way that they can use as a platform to get up out of the basement, at least to the first floor, so they can look and see opportunities if they're willing to take it from that point forward.
Yeah.
The old cliche, not a handout, but a hand up.
Absolutely.
So I don't give money direct, say, here, you want food. I say, I'll find you a job.
Yeah.
Or I will train you on something. Or I will give you a car that you can't afford so you can go get a better education or get a job.
I love it.
Some resource for them to multiply into their own lifestyle. Not everybody does it. And sometimes you get a little disappointed in seeing the resource wasted. But that's not my control.
It's not your deal, right? You can only do so much.
I can only be the spark. I cannot be the fire.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's shift gears. What's the best advice that you've ever been given that hopefully you followed, and what did you learn?
Well, the best advice was from my son. He said, Dad, live your life. All others are already taken.
I love that.
And I said, you got a point there, Steve.
I
Stop
love
trying to be like somebody else. And the other thing I've heard is stop measuring your insides by somebody else's outsides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't know what's on their inside. You just see the toys, the titles, the things, and you want to be like them.
Right.
And John Maxwell said it best. You want to do what I do, but you're not willing to do what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that phrase. I love that phrase. Okay, let's flip that upside down. You know this is coming. I've asked you to prepare for it. What's the absolute worst advice that you've ever been given that hopefully you didn't follow? And if you did, what did you learn?
Someone once told me, Bob, you can do anything you want to do. And I'm thinking, that really sounds great. But I found out that's really not true. Because I always say, tell me which hand's out of position. And I found out that neither. Here I am. Here's the opportunity.
Yeah.
They have to be like this to make it work. So if it's like this and you force it to this, it'll fall apart. If it becomes like that, grown like that, not formed, but grown, it's going to work. Yeah. So don't think you're good at everything. And I was told too many times, especially in high school, because I was a good student, you can do anything you want to do. And I went into engineering and almost failed out of college.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't. Even though I was good in math and science, engineering wasn't my DNA. I didn't learn enough about me to really determine what career I wanted to be. And I will tell you a funny story. We were sitting around with my kids the other night, and my oldest son talked about my number one grandson who's thinking about going into engineering school.
Oh, no.
And his brother said, so he wants to be a realtor.
Oh, that is classic.
Yeah, because I'm a BS in engineering from Tulane and the MBA from Tulane. And the only thing I took forward out of engineering was logic.
Yeah. That's
never practiced engineering, but I brought that into my real estate career. But the people, the teaching, the leading people, changing lives was much more me, and I had to find that out.
Yeah,
I had a certain number of failures before I realized I was going through a path of serving others, not serving me. So therefore, I was not serving others well.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. That's such a huge point, isn't it? I mean, it really is such a huge point. You can't serve others at the highest level unless you're good, unless you're in the right place.
Well, you know what they say in the world: if you don't love yourself, you really can't love other people.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, we could sit and talk for hours, and
but you and I have, and I've always
Yes, we have. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to do a little PSA, Bob, and then I want you to come back with a final thought to leave us with. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we always so much appreciate your support. You can subscribe at any one of your favorite podcast sources, download your episodes. We're all over the place. You can also go to www.thesuccessascent.com. You can sign up for updates there, look at all of our past episodes, show notes, all those great things. So we just really appreciate all your support. And if you think what you're hearing is awesome and other people could benefit from it, please share it and encourage them to listen. So, Bob, here we go. What's the final thought you would leave us with before we sign off today?
I think, and I've learned this the hard way and also multiple times with other people. I want somebody I work with, including myself, to own whatever they are doing at the time they're doing it. A lot of people are looking ahead, so therefore they miss the opportunity where they are. And my partner Kay said something once I thought was absolutely brilliant. She says a lot of things, but this one really stuck to me. She says, be so good at what you do and where you are that you will not go unnoticed.
Ooh.
Think about that for a minute. Be so good about what you do. In other words, own it. And I like to be with people who will own what they do because you don't have to manage them. You lead them. People who have to manage means they don't have the right people in place, because if they were in place, you wouldn't have to manage them.
Exactly.
You'd have to maybe over. You know the sport curling in the Olympics when the two brushes ahead of the ball goes down the ice?
Yeah, I'm from Minnesota. We know curling because we do it every day on the street.
I consider myself one of the brushers so that the ball can make it to where it's supposed to be. I don't push the ball. I don't touch the ball. I try and clear the path for the ball, but the ball has to be owned to make it go. I can't do that. I can't bring that in. You cannot motivate other people.
Nope.
You can only give opportunities where motivation counts, and they have to be self-motivated. There is no such thing as I'm going to motivate you. I can streamline you, but I can't motivate you.
Absolutely.
You know, God did that. Your mom and dad did that, and your DNA does that. And if you don't know how to do that, I can't help you.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a great thought, right? I mean, it's such a great thought.
Times. I cannot do what your mom and dad didn't do for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You had to bring that with you when you came to me. Now we can explore opportunities together and make them happen at a larger level.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Kilinski, let me tell you what, you have delivered an amazing level of insight, content, certainly wisdom, and just a heart. I'm just going to tell you heart. I love everything you do and everything you stand for. And I certainly love the impact you've had on my life and our relationship. And I'm just grateful you came on the show today and you shared. So thank you so much.
My honor, Pat. Believe me, my honor.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. So ladies and gentlemen, as we end every show, I tell you, be happy, be healthy, be safe until the next time we talk. Take care, everyone. Take care, Bob. Thank you for joining us on The Ascent today. You can find us at any of your favorite podcast sources. You can also subscribe to get updates and additional pieces of value that we send out at www.thesuccessascent.com. Thanks so much for your support. Please leave us a review. Have an amazing day. Take care.